I don't know if you guys know this yet, but Deadpool and Wolverine conquered the box office in its 5th week of release, and will probably conquer Labor Day weekend as well if we're being honest. The same thing happened to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse a couple of years ago. At that time, I remember reading articles that the theater owners were disappointed that there weren't other movies releasing like Across the Spider-Verse because movies in theaters don't really carry anymore. Well, not like they did back about 50 years ago. 50 years ago, a movie could play in theaters for 4 to 6 months and have sold out crowds for nearly every screening. Maybe not every screening, but pretty close to every screening. But with the advent of home video and later streaming services, especially streaming services, there isn't a real rush to see movies in theaters because everyone knows that it'll be on streaming eventually. I'm old enough to remember a time when if you wanted to see a movie, you went to the theater to see the movie. And to put this into perspective, I'm turning 28 this year. So yeah, I'm near 30. But getting back to it, the reason being that the reason why you went to the theater to see the movie is because if you waited for that movie to come out on DVD, you were waiting about 6 months to watch that movie on DVD. Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith released in theaters in May of 2005. The DVD didn't come out until the holiday season of 2005, November to December, pardon me, I don't remember the exact date that Revenge of the Sith released a DVD. And God forbid, if you wanted to rewatch a Christmas movie, you were probably waiting close to a year for that movie to come out on DVD. The Polar Express released holiday season 2004. The DVD didn't release until November 18th, 2005, nearly a full year after its original release. And God forbid if you said, well, screw the DVD, I'm going to wait to watch it on cable. You're probably waiting at least another year from the release of the DVD to watch that movie on cable, littered with ads and with a whole lot of censorship because, oh, you can't say ass or shit on television anymore since the Janet Jackson nip slip. Ooh, won't someone please think of the children? Nowadays, a movie comes out and within 6 weeks to 3 months, it's on a streaming service or it's on PVOD. So now audiences are a lot more picky when it comes to what movies they want to see in theaters versus what they'll wait for on home video. Look, I'm guilty of this mindset. There are many, many movie trailers that I have seen where I watch it and I go, yeah, I can just wait for, DVD or Blu-ray. I don't really need to go to the theater to watch that right now. And you listening to and you are also probably guilty of this just as much as I am. The only genre that's really immune to this attitude right now is horror. Longlegs did extremely well during its theatrical run, proving that if you make a good horror movie fans will show up and see it in a theater. Remember, Halloween Kills, and I believe Halloween Ends as well, was released simultaneously on Peacock and in theaters, and Halloween Kills still pulled off a $50 million opening weekend. Five Nights at Freddy's was also released simultaneously on Peacock and in theaters, and that movie had an $80 million opening weekend. Longlegs made over $100 million at the box office during its theatrical run, with about $73 million of that coming from the US and Canada. In my opinion, horror movies can release simultaneously and still make money at the theater, because going to a theater to watch a horror movie is better in a lot of situations than watching it at home. Unless if you have a really good sound system and a dedicated room for a home theater, you're more likely to get scared watching Five Nights at Freddy's in a theater than at home. That's the whole point of a horror movie, is to get scared, not to laugh at it and go, oh, you cheeky bastard. But that only works once in terms of being scared by a horror movie. After that, it just needs to be a good movie in general to keep people watching that movie over and over and over again instead of only once. But you also have these movies coming out like Borderlands that just do horribly to such a point that you have a ton of people questioning its existence. The only two movies that did really well during the summer 2024 box office were Inside Out 2 and Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, but I'll refer to it as Deadpool 3 from now on. The Crow remake only opened to $4.6 million against a production budget of $50 million, not including marketing. Borderlands, during its theatrical run, only grossed $24 million against a production budget of $115 million, not including marketing. That is the problem that is plaguing a lot of these movies, is that their budgets rival the GDP of a lot of small fucking countries. It's time that movies go back to smaller budgets and go back to knowing your audience. Stop trying to make every movie into a quote-unquote 4-quadrant movie that has to appeal to everybody. The old saying goes that if you try to please everyone, then you end up pleasing no one. A good horror movie knows its audience. That's why horror is doing really well right now, and it's budgeted accordingly. John Wick Chapter 4 was the highest grossing entry in the John Wick series, but it was also the most expensive. But John Wick 4 did not lose money. Why? Because John Wick 4 knew its audience. Why did Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny fail? Was it because of Get Woke, Go Broke? No, not really. It was because Harrison Ford was an 80-year-old man in an action movie. I think the market for an 80-year-old action movie star is pretty small. Basically, I'm calling for a return to the Roger Corman school of thought. The purpose of a movie is to entertain first, and certainly don't spend a mint making the final movie. You can throw all the money in the world at a movie. It doesn't mean it's going to be any better than if it were smaller budget. Did $350 million make Fast X a better movie? Did $291 million make Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 a better movie? Did $295 million make Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny a better movie? I think you're getting my point. All the money in the world, nearly $1 billion thrown at these movies alone, not including marketing, and not one of them was financially successful at the box office. Another bomb that released in 2024 was Kevin Costner's Horizon: An American Saga, the first movie in a 4-part series. You know what probably killed Horizon: An American Saga? The fact that it's only part 1 in a 4-part series. If Kevin Costner had just reined in his ambition and just made one solid Western epic, maybe it would have done a lot better. But most people don't want to make another commitment to a multi-part film saga until all parts have generally been released. If all 4 movies were shot back-to-back for Horizon American Saga, then it probably would have done better, because the other 3 are done and in the can, just waiting to be released. Remember, the 4th Divergent movie was never made because the 3rd one bombed so badly. So, fans of the Divergent series will never get an ending to those movies because of lofty goals and, quite frankly, really, really bad movies. And I know that they try to split the 3rd book into 2 movies, and that's probably what killed it. That was a really popular trend at the time. And you know what? I know that I've been rambling, but I'm going to end the video with this. Before you run off and make the next Godzilla vs. Kong for $200 million, why don't you make a lower budget monster movie like Konga, where the charm of the movie is it's a monster, but it's a man dressed in an ape suit for the whole movie? The smaller the budget, the less you need to make overall. The more you spend, the more people you need to please. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. If you try to please everyone, then you end up pleasing no one. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with putting a grown man in a lizard suit fighting Captain Kirk in the middle of the desert in front of Vasquez Rocks. Because, again, I will go back to this. Sometimes the limitations of said movie or said show add more to the charm later on than if you put in a whole bunch of CGI explosions and CGI monsters. It just doesn't feel the same as that man in the lizard suit. That's at least my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. So, until next time.